Well, that secret conclave in the Sistine Chapel will continue until at least two-thirds of the cardinals agree to a successor. There's no clear favourite, but two prelates have emerged as front-runners: the reforming Italian cardinal from Milan and the rather conservative cardinal from Sao Paulo, Brazil, who, if elected, would be the first non-European pope for more than 1,000 years. If there is a favourite, it's this man, Angelo Scola, Cardinal Archbishop of Milan. Son of a lorry driver, Scola was theologically close to Benedict. But unlike the former pope, he's keen to shake up the Vatican bureaucracy, some of which has become profoundly corrupt. He's also keen to dialogue with other faiths, particularly Islam. Almost the opposite is possibly the outsider favourite, the Archbishop of Sao Paulo, 63-year-old Odila Sierra. Descended from German immigrants, he's the Vatican minister's favourite. He's deeply conservative, and the fact that Protestant evangelical churches have sprung up all over his district may count against him. Of course, the conclave could pick a complete surprise, and the field of contenders is very wide. Just to name a few, there's the charismatic Luis Tagle from the Philippines at 55, one of the youngest cardinals; Argentina's Leonardo Sandri, who has Italian parents and is regarded as a bridge between old and new worlds; Mark Willett from Canada, who holds a critical Vatican post and is known for his conservative theological views; and Peter Turkson, who has been happily and less than discreetly campaigning for the post to become the first African pope in modern times. Well, all of them are widely regarded as papable, a term coined by Vaticanologists to describe likely contenders. Well, in the build-up to this conclave, over these last few days, even those cardinals who are now retired have joined the voting, well, not the voting, but the deliberating. Cardinals have been talking through the direction the Church should now take, and among them, Britain's lone surviving cardinal, Cormac Murphy O'Connor. At the tender age of 80, he doesn't get to vote, so he's with us now. Thank you very much for joining us, Cardinal. I want to take you back to your last experience in a conclave, and that was in 2005. And I want the door banging behind you and your first 3 hours in there.
Well,
what was it like?
I remember it well, especially the thud of the door. And then we looked at each other, the 115 cardinals, in that extraordinary building, the Sistine Chapel, with the magnificent frescoes of Michelangelo and the Last Judgment. So it's very solemn. And I remember thinking, well, looking around, one of us is going to go out with a different coloured cassock. And so this first hour when we had to take the oaths, and then we go up with our first votes, is really very solemn indeed.
But you have to work out how you're then going to proceed in practical terms. Do you do that in the first 3 hours? Is it like being maybe in a jury in a courtroom? I mean, you've got to not elect a foreman, but because somebody's going to be running the proceedings, that was all right. But
well, it's all done by ballot. There's nobody directing procedure. That would be influence. So
because the Holy Spirit directs.
Well, he does.
That's me telling a cardinal.
In mysterious ways. I think that everybody knows what they have to do, and you just indications when you're to go up to vote.
Right.
But there's no talking or in it at all in terms of discussing who. When you go back to your seat, you talk to your neighbours and wait for.
Well, they've now had a vote. It was unsuccessul. What will have happened? Will they have talked before that? Will they have debated?
No. Well, the debates have all taken place.
Really?
In terms of the last week when I've been with the cardinals discussing the challenges facing the Church and what kind of pope, what kind of qualities we need in the new pope. So that's been going on for the last 8 days.
Does anybody stand up and say, I think X is the person? No.
There is such a thing in the past of a vote by acclamation. Somebody could get up and say, I think Cardinal X should be Pope. And if they all shout yes, well, that's enough. But that hasn't happened for centuries.
Now, your deliberations in these last few days, I know I don't want you to tell me, because you're not allowed to tell me, whether you've begun to settle on somebody and whether is a real favourite. But what about the themes? What are the things you want this man to do?
Well, I think that the first thing that we look at when we're choosing a pope is he a holy man? It's not, is he good at this or good at that, or a good strategy man, or is he a holy man filled with the life of the gospel?
Well, far be it for me to suggest it, but would any of them be in there if they weren't holy men?
Well,
or some are more holy than others.
Some are more holy than others. It's got to be a palpably holy man. And then I think he should also be someone who is able to govern, has the gift of governance. That means also choosing wisely those who are going to help him, his assistants. And I think that the cardinals would think that this next pontificate should be one in which the Pope is not only, as it were, governing and being helped by the Curia, but also have a different layers of bishops who are able to advise them.
You've already identified two critical themes, holiness and management.
Yeah.
That distills it down to a sort of fairly interesting number. And I'm wondering whether there were, in the end, there was a sense this could move quicker than we think.
Well, I think it'll be a bit slower than last time. Last time when Pope Benedict...
That was 2 days.
That was 2 days. It could be 3 days this time. But that's just a guess. I really don't know. They may come very quickly to the decision that this is the man we want. And he gets 77 votes, 2/3 plus 1.
And secretly, if you did have a vote, do you have a name?
How do you mean?
Do you have a name of someone in your head that you won't disclose? I would ask you to do that, but is it in there?
I have some ideas. About
how many?
About who?
One or more?
One and more. Well, I know it could be one of 5, I think.
Right.
But which one, I don't think I want to say, but I have an idea.
Great
have an idea.
stuff.
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'll be very happy.
Cardinal, you sound young enough for me to vote. I think it's wretched you can't go in there and join them.
So do I, but there you are.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us,
Pleasure
Cardinal.
to be with you.
And I'll be back later in the programme. And now back to Krishnan in London.